Can you just say in a louder voice than you normally speak? Just count to 10, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
And then louder.
12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous tonight with Daniel J. Brown.
Fantastic. What an opening.
What an opening. Love it. The only thing is, I really hate the sound of my own voice.
Yeah.
But everyone does.
Yeah, everyone hates the sound of your voice, to be fair.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was an easy joke.
It was, but...
Low blow.
It's okay. It's not like it's affecting my self-esteem or anything.
Talking of self-esteem, should we get started?
Why not?
Let's see how you are the other side of this.
It's actually quite funny the other day. So I was speaking to my doctor, and the woman who basically told me to go to rehab got me sober. She goes, "How much you drinking nowadays?" Cool. I thought we were on more of a level, but I was like, "Oh my god, really?"
You're like, "I don't drink," and she's like, "Boring."
Get out of here! Shut. Honestly, I didn't say anything, but I was like, "Nope, still nothing. Just not at all."
Oh, should we get started?
Yes, let's get going.
Okay, let's jump in.
Jumping in.
Welcome to the show with
Hi.
me. That's the first time someone's interrupted my intro. I don't know what to do.
Just throwing some curveballs at you,
Welcome to the show again.
Yay.
With me, Dan, and my guest, Jamie. How you doing, Jamie?
Hello. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. It's good. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
We actually are allowed to see each other in person now.
I know, it's weird, but I like it.
Yeah. That's sort of our relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Weird, but I like it.
I like it. I'm just going to keep going, see what happens.
Yeah, it's nice. This is, I think the only other podcast I've done in person was with you when we did it in my room at my mum's house.
Remind me what that was about again?
That was a filming one. That was films.
Course. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's nice to actually be able to do this in person, how podcasts should be doing.
Absolutely.
But it's sort of, the more I do in person now, it's going to make the podcast title a bit less of a double meaning, because it's along the lines, which was supposed to be along the phone lines.
Oh.
But I guess, along the...
So you're going to change it?
I've already spent £200 on a trademark, when I did it, I was like, I don't spend like £10 on a t-shirt, but I'll spend £200 on a trademark.
Because we're going to be locked out forever.
And it lasts 10 years. So
yeah. Fair enough.
When someone comes along and wants to, actually anything entertainment-wise, they can't have along the lines in this country as the name. So they'll have to pay me to get the trademark.
That's true. I mean, they could just change the name. Probably cheaper.
Yeah. But it's such a good name.
It is a good name. Along the lines?
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Cool. Okay. So first of all, just to get us sort of, we were talking about sort of articles and how you have headlines and stuff before the podcast. But how would you, just to jump straight in there, in a phrase, how would you? Because I don't want to get the terminology wrong. I think with any sort of subject that's very personal to someone, I don't want to label it differently to how you personally would label it. So in a label or a phrase, how would you describe your relationship with alcohol in very sort of short, in a phrase?
Good question. my relationship with it, enough is never enough.
Enough is never enough. Okay. And would you say, I sort of don't want to throw the phrase out there myself, but I'll do it anyway and just see if you push me back. Would you prefer the phrase that you're an alcoholic, or that you have a problem with alcohol, or anything like that? Is there, if it was putting a label on it in that sense,
sure,
what feels most right?
I would have no problem with saying that I'm an alcoholic. I have no problem with that, because in my mind, as soon as I have another drink, if I do, which hopefully I won't, I'll go straight back to that place. And I've known a lot of people who have, come into the rooms and stuff like that, and unfortunately died because of it. But they had another drink and they've said, I've just gone straight back to exactly where I was, like the same feeling, same everything, just straight back. So that's why I have no problem saying it as a whole.
Right. So is that what it means to you then? Like you said, enough is never enough. So what's the difference between someone who calls himself an alcoholic, or someone who is an alcoholic, and someone who might say, oh yeah, I drink a bit too much every now and again? Like, what is it? Is it the fact that you don't feel physically that you can stop yourself, or what to you is the difference? Not like the dictionary definition or whatever.
Just to get some clarification, you're asking what's the difference between an alcoholic and someone who drinks?
So what's the difference between an alcoholic and someone who just drinks a lot, or drinks more than is recommended?
Sure. I mean, I think my definition of me being an alcoholic is, as soon as I have that drink, I won't be able to control myself. I will chase that next drink. I will keep going until I get that feeling that I'm after. Whether I have to lie, cheat, steal, whatever it is to get that, what I need, I will do it. Someone who drinks a lot, I mean, I think, to be fair, the definition of an alcoholic is mostly up to the person. I think I would never say to someone, you're an alcoholic. You know what I mean? It's up to that person to decide.
And on that note, for you personally, what was that moment like? We'll discuss after this, like what the journey was up to that point. But the actual moment for you, was it a gradual realization that when you started to put that label in your head, like when for you what was the moment? What was it like when you sort of had that ping moment of like,
sure,
I'm an alcoholic?
I mean, I don't think I really labeled myself as an alcoholic until I came out of rehab, and then I started going to AA and stuff like that.
Right.
I think beforehand, when I was drinking, beforehand when I was drinking, there was this, because I didn't have much knowledge on the area, I just knew that alcohol was just a part of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was two in one. I couldn't survive without the other, and vice versa.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I didn't have like a label in my head. I just knew I can't go about my daily business without ingesting alcohol.
So what was that realization before rehab then? Why do you feel like you needed to take, I guess, drastic steps that aren't normal things for people to do, that to realize that it's got to a point now?
Sure.
What was it? A moment? Was it just a gradual realization?
I'll tell you I understand. I'll tell you the exact moment. I went to see my doctor.
Right.
And I had tests done, liver and blah, blah, blah. And they were all just shot, all of them.
Right.
Like liver was failing. I was going yellow.
Right.
I was very skinny. I wasn't in a good way.
Yeah.
And she said to me, if you keep going the way you're going, I give you a few years.
Really? What, to live?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the scary bit of that was that I thought about it.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I don't want to stop.
Right.
Even if that kills me,
Right.
I don't want to stop.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, obviously, I discussed it with a couple of other people, and I can remember talking to a friend of mine about it, and he was like, "You must be joking. You're going to die if you keep going. This is not like some made-up world that we're living in here. This is life or death."
Yeah. Why do you think that didn't register with you personally? Why do you think you were? Obviously, I don't want to talk for any other alcoholic, but why for you did you not connect with, because with a lot of people, if they were to hear from their doctor, it's likely that you've got a few years left to live.
Yeah.
I imagine the thought process would be, oh my God, I need to do something now. I do not want to die. Yeah. Why do you think you were even on the fence at that point?
I think just because I couldn't really remember a time that I was alive since I was about 17, that every day I didn't have some sort of drink in me. You know what I mean? It was so ingrained in me, so intertwined, that the thought of being separated from it was far greater than it would be if I died.
Is it sort of like an identity thing? Like, people talk a lot these days about identity and what we define and as our own identity. Do you think that actually you getting rid of alcohol was a sort of, sorry to get philosophical, but, and I'm not saying you thought this deeply at the time about it, but do you feel like actually looking back on it, you were scared of losing yourself because not having alcohol, you wouldn't be you anymore, type thing?
Well, I didn't know who I was.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know who I was. I stopped drinking when I was 23.
Right.
Throughout my entire adolescence and, young adult, I was intoxicated the whole time. I didn't know who I really was. You know what I mean? When you've spent so long being the way you are, it's change, really, isn't it? Fear. And that bottomless gut wrench feeling of being separated from the only thing that makes you feel good in this world,
Yeah. So I guess, was it sort of like someone saying to you, like, I'll take away all your happiness? Is that more of an accurate thing of, like, I'm just trying to think for someone who hasn't gone through that process, like,
it helped me to function, helped me to live my life, every single aspect of it.
It's like your power and your strength.
Absolutely.
Almost. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So then when someone turns around and said, you got to stop this, or you're going to die.
Yeah.
Well, if you've not known anything else, of course you're going to question it.
Yeah. And that's all your strength and your power gone.
Yeah.
That's all your ability
gone.
And
that was the scary thing for me. It really was, that I'd gotten to that point, that realization that I was there. It was scary. It was scary to me. And then I was open to the possibility. I had to go to that place to realize, okay, something needs to happen here.
Do you think you personally, you needed to hit a point where it was a real wake-up call for you to do something about it?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So that was a crucial part.
I'm a really big believer in, you kind of need to hit rock bottom before you can make any kind of change. If someone's not ready to do it, then you're not going to stop them doing it. They have to lose what is considered like a massive loss to them, because everyone's different.
Yeah.
Someone's rock bottom might be someone else's completely, just a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just depends on the person.
I guess do you think it also depends on how attached they are to that thing? If something is so ingrained, like, for example, like Ashton was on the podcast and he was talking about he lived a very unhealthy lifestyle and he was drinking and blah, blah, blah. But his rock bottom, in quotation marks, was just looking down at himself. He'd been on like a 2-week binge. He had a belly and he felt awful. He looked awful. And that for him was enough to then make a change. But he wasn't as attached to, I don't know, just an unhealthy lifestyle as you maybe were to alcohol. Do you think maybe the more attached you are to something, you almost need to hit a real rock bottom type thing?
Define the question a bit more for me.
So, like, for example, if I wanted to give up salad, I love salad, or let's say muesli. Like, I have muesli every day. Like, but
Had what?
Muesli.
What the hell is that?
Muesli.
What is muesli?
Oats and stuff.
Oh, right. I have no idea. It's not part of my diet.
Rabbit food.
It really is.
So I have oats every day, pretty much. But it doesn't form a fundamental part of me. It would be easy to give that up compared to, like, I'm just trying to come up with a good example. Okay. Well, let's flip actually. I rarely have, I don't know, celery, for example. To give up celery, it would take no effort to give up celery, but to give up muesli, I'd have to hear like that it was really, really bad for me, and it was like people were dying of it every day, and rah, 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 to get me to give it up. So I guess what I mean is, this is a really bad analogy, by the way.
No, I do get what you're saying.
How attached you are to it
absolutely
meant
100%.
that you needed to hit more of a rock bottom.
times the rabbit food times 10, and have it so that it's a daily thing that you do constantly. You live to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
It's more you live to drink rather than you're drinking to live, almost. Like you're Yeah.
And that was another thing that I questioned as well. It's like, should I stop because I feel like all I'm meant to do here in this world is to drink? What I'm scared of, I'm fearful of knowing, of living without it, because I don't know what else to do.
No.
Because fucking hell, I could drink.
Yeah.
I was good at that.
Yeah.
I was very fucking good.
Yeah. It's almost like you felt like you wouldn't have anything else to give, like the world type thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I guess at the time, I knew you throughout our teens, and it was a big part of our friendship as well.
Yeah.
I'd know you as a person to turn up to the party and have all the alcohol.
Absolutely,
and get drunk and so taking that away, it's sort of like, well, what have I got anymore?
Exactly. And I feel like since I've stopped drinking, I put a lot of pressure on myself to do more stuff with my life. Find that one thing that I'm good at, actually have a successful life. And I've been so focused on that, it's actually been a bit debilitating. And then I get angry with myself for not doing these things and not making something of my second chance that I've got. But really, just where I'm at now is just incredible. It's like, it is really a life beyond my wildest dreams. Like, I have a house. I have a house.
Yeah.
I have a partner. I have 2 cats.
Yeah.
That I take care of. 2 other things, animals that I can take care of.
Yeah.
I couldn't take care of myself. My life was completely unmanageable. Now, I have a job, I have a car, I have all these things, a steady income.
Yeah.
All these things that are just beyond comprehension before.
And I think it's very easy for us to look at our own life and think, I'm not winning an Oscar, or I'm not, competing in the Olympics or whatever, all these sort of grand things that we're supposed to look at and say this is successful. But it's so important that we look at our own lives and see what we are giving. Like, even when you were in the midst of, you know, drinking all the time, you were still giving stuff back then as well. You still had a lot to give. And you even more so since you stopped. It's I think it's very easy to not see what we do give, even in the little moments.
Yeah.
Because it's for us, it's just a normal life, you know. But we like you say, you've got two cats, and, like, you know, that sort of caring and that sort of some people can't do that. They don't have the ability, and you wouldn't have done maybe when you were a teenager or when you were even a young adult.
Definitely not.
So let's go back a bit. I think we'll maybe a bit later we'll carry on and talk about more sort of coming out of rehab. I'm sort of interested to go a bit further back and before you sort of having that realization. Sure. You know, had that doctor's appointment.
Epiphany.
Yes, yeah. What was your journey up till then? Obviously, I don't need to know about, you know, your life story with Jamie. But what do you think are the key points along that journey to that doctor's appointment? Where do you think were some of the key turning points along the way? And that can be as far back as you want it to be. You know, if you feel like there was something in your early childhood that started to rattle along the way, that's all fine. So what was your sort of the key points up to that doctor's appointment?
Sure. I mean, I think you've already kind of covered, you know, kind of like teenage years pre-18, which was getting hold of any kind of alcohol and any kind of free time, go to parties and just having fun, because that's what made me feel good. And no matter what, no matter the time, no matter the situation, I'd always drink to excess. After that,
would you say, sorry, just to say on that, would you say during that time you were drinking the same amount as friends and stuff, or do you think even then you were maybe a bit too drinking a bit too much?
I think with the people I surrounded myself, maybe I more pulled them towards that kind of area inadvertently, but other people our age would, I suppose, obviously you have parties and stuff like that where you drink to excess, but no, probably not as much as I was.
So you think other people weren't drinking maybe as much as you were?
Well, I say that like I was the only drunk in the village, but but you know what I mean. Probably not. I think more that kind of age people were focusing on their future. So like putting more effort into your uni work, or no, sorry, that's post 18. So like school work and A levels and stuff like that.
And sports and things.
Absolutely. Where I, on a Wednesday afternoon, was like, yeah, fuck it, let's go get pissed.
What, even on a Wednesday back in school?
Maybe not school, but like college. So, I was thinking.
Yeah. So I mean, you were really good at sport, weren't you?
Sport.
Yeah, what was it? Yeah, I mean, well, it was because we do runs like, I don't know, it was once a week or whatever, or maybe less often than that, but
like once a year. But
yeah, but I mean, in our year, we would run.
You're talking about
long distance or like around a field.
Yeah.
And I always remember you at the front. Maybe who was it at the front with you? I swear, was it Jono?
Yeah, Jono was up there.
Yeah.
Ryan Dalton,
yes.
A couple of other people. I can't remember now. But yeah, no. I was good at sport.
And you were also pole vault?
I mean, look, if we're going to big myself up here, I might as well just get it all out of the way. Yeah, I was really good at pole vault. I was really good at, I was Hearts goalkeeper, hockey.
Nice.
I was a big rugby player. I was quite fast. You know, I was athletic as a child.
So I'm not sort of suggesting that that once you go down a path that it's a foregone conclusion. Like, but I'm really interested in people's forks in the road and people at the point. So for me, this seemed like, you know, it could have been that you went down the sport route and you were training often, and you were very careful with how much you drank and all that sort of stuff, and what you ate, because you went down a sporty route, because you I don't know if it was natural, but you were very good in a couple of different things. Why do you think you were more enticed by, I guess, would you describe it as the party lifestyle, or was it girls? Did you want to go after girls? Was it alcohol itself? Was it just the fun of going to parties? Like, why do you think, because is it fair to say your sport started to suffer and you went down that route more, the sort of party route?
Sure. I mean, to be honest, thinking about school kind of time, I wouldn't say it was that abnormal.
Right.
I wouldn't have said forks in the road would have happened too greatly there. Personally, I can think of a few, but it wouldn't be there. But to answer your question, if I can remember what the question was,
like, why do you think as a teenager? I'm not saying that, because I did the same. I wanted to neglect maybe stuff that I was good at outside of partying, because I just wanted to, and I had my own reasons for that. But for you personally, why do you think that you were more drawn to drinking and partying?
Because it was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun. It made me feel good. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
And that sort of, do you think maybe that sort of overrided the enjoyment you got out of sports type thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
More of a chore to do the sports type thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't get up Sunday mornings to go down to rugby practice because I'd be drinking the night before, and I couldn't be bothered to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say hungover, because I didn't know what hungover was then.
Yeah.
I still don't really.
Yeah.
Because I just drank through it. It was easier.
Tip there for anyone listening.
If you have a hangover, just keep drinking. It's the easiest way. But yeah, no, I when I was at school, I didn't really like learning. I found it a chore. I obviously enjoyed games and stuff and sports over that, but above that, yeah, drinking and having fun with friends. I think I was quite an anxious child as well, so anxiety does come into my story quite a bit. But yeah, the drinking helped with that. Whatever that in, you know, just talking to people, talking to girls. I was shit scared of girls. I really thought I had in my mind when I was younger that I was very ugly.
Okay.
I was very self-conscious of the way I was, and I just wasn't the same as some of my friends, you know, the cool kids, being able to talk to people and just be naturally funny and stuff like that. And I realised pretty early on I was funnier, I was more charismatic, I was better when I was drunk. Right.
Which is funny, because when you were saying you were funnier, more charismatic, I was actually just thinking about you in general. But it's interesting that inside your head, actually, you only saw that as because you were a bit of a legend at school, and you were funny, and you everyone knew you as someone who was a lot of fun to be around. And I think, even though in your head you saw that as an alcohol thing, that was also not an alcohol thing, but obviously at the time, and I completely relate. I was exactly the same. I was very insecure. I thought that everyone was funnier than me, everyone was cooler than me, everyone, all that sort of stuff. And you know, when I discovered alcohol and how I could feel with it, I was like, bloody hell, this is like rocket fuel. It's like, it's
absolutely
for your self-esteem.
Yep. And
suddenly I'm like, you know, the coolest guy, the funniest guy. I can get all the girls in my head. You know, that's you know how I see it. It that's how it was, and I just like, sweet. And yeah. So I mean, so you went more down the party lifestyle, and you really loved alcohol, and you really loved everything that came with it. So where do you think the next sort of key moment was for you where, you know, you were maybe pushed more into along the path that led to the sort of doctor's appointment and stuff? So 18. Wow. And was what was it about when you were 18?
Started working in a pub.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Always fun.
Yes.
Well, I just love that lifestyle. I liked being able to go down the pub and just be surrounded by alcohol, regardless of whether or not I've been paid or I had money or anything like that at that point. I was so... I was always at the pub, so people would buy me drinks, or because I was going into the pub where I was working at the same time, people would just give me free drinks from behind the bar.
Do you think it made a difference that you lived so close to the pub?
Nope.
No?
I don't think so.
No?
I think it was only, like 200 metres away?
Yeah.
But regardless,
I
would have gone to the pub.
So your attitude with working in a pub, is it fair to say it became a lifestyle? Whereas some people around a lot of people work in a pub as a teenager or a young adult, but they might not spend that much time there in their free time. Do you think for you it meant more?
Absolutely, yeah. Just to be part of that that pub lifestyle, that family kind of thing together. You know, people who I worked with, they were literally like my family for years. And I loved it. And the people who came in, they were always very nice people. And I kind of looked up to that idea of finishing work at like 2:00 in the afternoon and going straight down the pub and being there till close. It just made sense to me.
Yeah. I think it's really easy to underestimate how important a sense of belonging is. Like, for people who have grown up with whatever privilege that is, where they found some sense, like for some people it is sport, or some people are so close to their family that they feel belonging in that, and that gives them a grounding. Or it might be it might be a gang that go out and, you know, do whatever. It's so important to feel it somewhere. Or for some people it's religion, or, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that can easily get forgotten in maybe when people talk about, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you know, try and change people's behavior, even if it's for good reason, try to make people healthier. If people feel a belonging somewhere and they don't feel it anywhere else really, that's very difficult to change.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
So you worked in the pub. How long were you working there for?
So that particular pub, I was there for about 3 years, I think, something like that. Maybe less. With two and a bit years, something like that. But yeah, no, I loved it. Did the quiz, was the quiz master.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I liked being that guy who was, you know, people were listening to, like, kind of had the power and being the entertainer.
Yeah.
I always remember, it's a bit of a sidetrack, but I always remember this one time. It was a question. One of the answers was ZZ Top.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of them before. So in front of the whole pub, I was like, and the answer is ZZ Top. And everyone in the pub was just laughing. I was like, what? What did I say? It's ZZ Top. I was like, oh, okay, sorry. But you know what I mean? That kind of funny kind of togetherness. And I loved it. And I'd always go like up into Watford town after like a shift. And there'd be someone there going, oh, no, it's the quiz guy, it's the quiz master kind of thing. It was nice to feel like I belonged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I kind of got off on that. But, yeah, no. So, after that, I mean, during that time, I got into relationships kind of, it wasn't a very good one. It was a very alcohol-fueled relationship, obviously.
So, was that a key point as well? Obviously, you don't have to go into details about the relationship, but do you think that was a key turning point as well? Because I'm just thinking, like, all of these things, like drinking when you're a teenager, working in a pub, it doesn't mean that someone's going to get to the point where they become an alcoholic. So do you think that was pushing you more onto this path that you ended up being on.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Purely because, like I said, it was an alcohol-fueled relationship. I don't think we went a day without having a drink. Because of that, the relationship suffered because we'd always be getting into arguments. We'd both be jealous. We'd both, you know what I mean? All these negative things that used to come up. And this was my first, I suppose, relationship.
Yeah.
Like a proper one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I fell head over heels in love.
Do you think you both brought the same relationship with alcohol, like a similar relationship, or do you think one of you influenced the other more, or do you think it was fairly equal that you both sort of?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know on that one, to be honest. Food for thought on that one. I'll have to have a proper think about that. But
so do you think it got worse because you were both in sort of?
Well, we were both working at the same place, you know, so I'd always be able to get free drinks, and I'd always be able to shave a little bit off the top, if you know what I mean, to fuel the alcohol. I mean, I don't want to dive too deep into it, but alcohol made me go to a lot of different places. I would steal a lot of money just to get my fix. I'm not proud of it. I'm not going to go into it, but it's something I did, and it's a big regret of mine.
So do you think maybe that was the start of something? You were like, obviously maybe you didn't properly clock it at the time, but in retrospect, do you think like that was a point where it was like, bloody hell, okay, I was really, really wanted alcohol to a point where I was stealing?
Absolutely, yeah. I did a lot of things I'm not proud of. But like I said, I won't go into it too much, but I'm sure you could all use your imaginations.
Yes.
But anyway, so where I was going with that, so I was in that relationship, and it didn't end so well, and I used that as a poor me,
right?
And I got very depressed, and I just needed, it just fueled my addiction. It made it worse. I'm it was like almost an excuse, you know, like, well, this happened to me. You can't possibly be in a worse place than I am right now. And I'd tell it to anyone who would listen, and pour me until someone got bored, and then I'd go on to the next person and do it all again. And so I became very depressed, and the drinking went up tenfold. If I thought it was bad then, it just shot straight up. So I mean, I went from pub to pub to pub after that. Moved to, Leighton Buzzard. No, not Leighton Buzzard. London Colney, I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
London Colney, Reading, a few other places, just local. Lived above them all, and living above a pub. Very good idea, I'll tell you. But, it got to the point where, I mean, you can, like I said, use your imaginations of where and how I was drinking. But my life got to the point where I was waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning to go to work, struggle through that first few bits, break after lunch. Okay, you've got 4 hours here to go and get as smashed as you possibly can to feel normal with whatever money you could possibly get, and however you do it, and get as much as you can to get you through the rest of the day. It was literally living day by day.
Yeah, planning your day around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drinking. Yeah,
and I'd go out, get my booze, come back, drink as much as I can, go back to work, and then work till close, and then start drinking again. And then, when other people had gone to sleep, that's when the real drinking started.
And what does the real drinking mean?
Drinking by myself without any limitations.
Right.
Not that there was any limitations with some of the people that I was drinking with.
Sure.
But
you didn't have the eyes on you. And
Absolutely.
You could
yeah. And I could feel sorry for myself and punish myself, I think.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Go into a bit of a stupor and yeah,
listen to music full blast in the ears and sing it to myself, and crying and drinking.
You could be happy.
Exactly.
One of your favourites.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I love those guys.
So just talk me through a normal day, just because it's just good for clarity of what that means. What would be a typical day in terms, just in how much you would drink?
Sure. Wake up, go to work, break after lunch, go out and get booze, whatever I could, depending on the day. But, often, on average, 5-6 bottles of wine.
Well, you'd buy 5-6 bottles of wine
a day, yeah.
Oh my God.
Roughly.
Wow.
So obviously, it would change sometimes depending on how skint I was. I'd get beer. I wasn't really ever a spirit drinker.
Right.
But obviously, if I had nothing, I knew where to get it. Just downstairs below my feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd easily buy that much, go back.
So you wouldn't drink before starting work?
In the morning, no.
Okay.
Because say if I started at 9 o'clock, I'd wake up at 8:59.
Yeah.
And then stumble on downstairs, not having showered for about 6 months.
Yeah. And maybe a bit drunk still from the night before type thing.
Yeah, because I'd only have like 3 or 4 hours sleep.
Right, yeah,
It wasn't really sleep. It was just, I passed out.
Yeah.
Drunk until I passed out.
Bloody hell.
Often without brushing my teeth either. I had black teeth by the end of it because I was a bit of a red wine drinker. So I switched to white wine. Genius idea.
Problem solver.
I'm clever. But yeah, no, I had real problems with my teeth. Even when I did brush them, it wouldn't get rid of it. I had black tongue, just wouldn't go.
Wow.
So yeah, I'd go down to work, go out, get as much as I could, drink, I don't know, 2 and a bit. And then...
What, on your break or?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, maybe have a small nap if I was absolutely knackered. But then I'd go back to work at like 6 o'clock, work, with a bit of a buzz, finish, boom, start drinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And 4 bottles of wine later, and it's 5-6 o'clock in the morning, been stumbling around my room, throwing up.
So it wasn't unheard of that you had 4 bottles of wine in a night?
Yeah.
So
it's quite a bit. It is quite a bit.
Yeah.
Considering only, when I was, I think it was like 9, New Year's Eve, when I was about 9 years old, my first alcoholic drink, WKD. Loved it.
It was great.
But it's weird because I can even remember then, I wanted another. I wanted another one, another one, and another one. I just wanted to keep that feeling.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not it's WKD. I think anything else at that age I would have been splat out. But it's funny how, going from like 6 bottles of WKD in a night to 6 bottles of wine in a day, how quickly that kind of thing can change. But yeah, no, so that was pretty much my life.
Yeah.
I didn't really ever go out that much because I could get drink cheaper elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're by that point, your focus had maybe gone away from the things that you could get with alcohol. Maybe back in your teenage years, like I say, for me as well, alcohol was a tool. So it was a tool to get girls. It was a tool to be a funny person. But do you think actually now alcohol was the goal?
Absolutely.
And those other goals like girls or whatever else.
Just being sociable.
It was just being sociable. Now it was just, well, if I had 2 choices between going out and having fun or being drunk, then I'm always going to pick being drunk.
100%.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. And did you know any alcoholics back then? Were you aware at all of people that had problems with drink, or even if you had, do you think it would have just passed you by anyway? And you,
I think people who I came across in pubs, I'm sure, would have had some kind of drinking problem, maybe. But again, I don't want to make it like, oh, that person's an alcoholic. You know what I mean?
sure, yeah,
I'm sure, yeah, I probably did, but I wouldn't have noticed.
you wouldn't have been aware of it.
No.
It wasn't like there was someone you knew who was an alcoholic, and
Well, it's very wrapped up in my own mind. It's very narcissistic way of thinking, you know, only being concerned about getting a drink for myself, and everyone else is just secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, drugs came into it as well, obviously, but I won't talk about that because we're talking about alcohol. But that also helped towards making me very bankrupt.
Sure. Yeah.
Or in debt, sorry, should I say.
Yeah. So were there aspects, this is more taking a wider view now, so this is just your opinion. Do you think there are aspects of culture that, or society that we live in, that are unhealthy and that actually helped and continues to produce alcoholics? Obviously, there's never a foregone conclusion, but do you think there are aspects of our culture and society that make it easier for people to have drinking problems, have drug problems, whatever it might be?
I think
Bit closer.
People who drink now should really see it more as a privilege.
Right.
You know? Yes, I understand that there are alcoholics out there and it's horrible what we have all been through, but I wouldn't want to take away something from everyone else just because there's a small percentage of people that, you know what I mean?
So do you feel happy with the way that we as a society think about alcohol and approach alcohol, and you don't think anything should change? I'm genuinely asking. I'm not trying to lead you into having an opinion.
No. I think everyone, to an extent, obviously over drinks and over abuses it. And I think it's ingrained in us as a society and a culture that it's just the norm when actually it shouldn't be. Right.
So you'd like to see that change, even though, you know, I'm not saying you come up with actual methods to change it.
I mean, there's always a lot of problems with alcohol. There's always, nothing ever really ends well, does it?
No.
I can't think of any real positives.
No. I mean, I guess the only positives I could think of would be short-term positives.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah, because it's a depressive at the end of the day. You know what I mean? That's what it does. And long-term use of it is not good for your body. So yeah, I mean, yeah, if I had a choice, no, hold on, I worded that wrong. I have a choice not to drink. That doesn't mean that other people can't. But my choice is that I won't.
Yeah. Okay, so you feel like you're more focused on your journey and what you can do differently. You're not too concerned about the way that alcohol is in society.
Because you're never going to stop it. So why fight against something that you're never going to be able to stop? Just, you know, alcohol's a daily thing. It just is what it is. So instead of fighting against it and pushing against it, acceptance, that's the thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Powerlessness over these things.
Yeah. Now, I would like to play devil's advocate. It's only if you want to. I can carry on the way we have been. And just to be clear, these aren't my views, but I just want to check before. Can I, for a moment, be more challenging and pretend to be someone who has very skeptical views on alcoholism? Or would you rather just carry on how we have been?
I mean, you can do, but I don't really see the point. I'll tell you why, because your views are your views and my views are my views. I'm not going to say that your views are wrong because they're your views.
Mm.
My view is, it's kind of like Christianity in a way, or like religion, right? If you believe in religion, great. Like, absolutely go for it. If it does good things for you and blah, 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 absolutely go for it. But respect my decision that I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Don't try and force that down my throat. And in turn, I won't do the same. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
It's respect. So I suppose in that way, yeah, go for it. But I can't, it's not going to be like a to and fro.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll leave it for now, because if that's fair enough, and I respect that view. I guess I'll maybe do it differently. Have you ever had anyone be more challenging, or are there any certain stigma that you and other people you know have got because of being alcoholic, or people that are, you know?
I think just the choice of not drinking is looked upon as weird.
Right.
And what? You're not drinking? Well, most people are okay. Most people are going, okay, cool, that's good. But there's always that few who are like, what? Why?
Yeah.
And I know I would have been the same.
Right, yeah.
I would have been exactly the same. What? You don't drink? Why? That doesn't make any sense to me.
So that's more like an annoying thing that just like, you know, after every time there's someone who...
Yeah, there's always someone, but I always, you know, it's... I just don't drink. Or I like to throw in some curveballs every now and then. Oh, I'm allergic. It's not a lie. But then I didn't know you could. So, yeah.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Just like little things. I like to have fun sometimes.
And do you think that, again, this is more of a society question, and, you know, do you think that drugs and alcohol, like drugs that are currently illegal, do you have any views on that at all? Or again, would you rather not go into the legalities of, like, you know, because there's a strong swathe of people that think maybe, you know, certain drugs should be legal because they're not as harmful as alcohol and things like that.
What are we talking about? Marijuana?
Yeah. And there's
Some Charlie.
There's good arguments for other drugs as well being legal. And I guess that it can be seen by some people there can be a hypocrisy in the fact that alcohol is so free and available and easy to get, but it can cause so much damage. But some other drugs, which in many ways aren't as harmful, are still illegal. Do you have any views on that, or again, is it not really something that you have much of an opinion on?
I don't have too much of an opinion on when taking the drugs or alcohol. More the rehabilitation after.
Right.
So quite often people will go to prison, or, you know what I mean? I've done prison service and stuff like that. I've gone into prisons and spoken to people and stuff like that. It's not nice to hear some of these things. But instead of, as a society, we shun these people, go to prison, think about the bad that you've done, instead of helping these people and rehabilitating them properly, you're going to see more positives than negatives, because someone will just come back out and offend again. Whereas if you actually invest in someone, the likelihood of them offending again would be less. So just in that kind of sense of the term, I'd like to see changed, but the rest. So
you think treat it more as a health issue than a criminal issue, right?
Because it's a mental disease, isn't it? Really, it's a mental problem, disorder, whatever you want to call it, addiction. And
in the end, the point of prison is to prevent further things happening.
Absolutely.
And if it's not working for that purpose, then
absolutely,
then another approach needs to be taken.
You can get anything in prison. can.
And you meet other people who are connected in the world that you've already been in.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's not going to help. So invest in helping these people first, and then, I mean, I don't know about that after, but I just know it's worked in other countries. So why can't we do that here? I also think, I mean, just as another side note, I think we should all do 4-day work weeks. If
Boris is listening,
bring it on down to 4 purely. But I don't think that, okay, it won't work if there's a pay cut. It won't work if you have to work extra hours on the other days. But if we all go down to 4-day work weeks, productivity will go up, and happiness and stress levels, well, the stressful levels will go down, your happiness of the employees will go up, and you'll see more productivity. So that's just my little rant over. Thank you very much. If you'd like to support me on this, you can.
I have a Just Giving page for 4-day work weeks. Okay, so now I guess we can go on to a bit more hopeful note and talk about after rehab and things like that. So I guess the first question is, how many years have you been sober?
6.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That is amazing.
Yep.
Has it gone quickly?
Yes and no. I think the first bit wasn't, because it's kind of like starting again. It's kind of like life in a way. Like the first few years of your life go slower, but then the longer you get into it, it starts going faster and faster. So yeah, yes and no. I think obviously in the first year was horrible because you're still trying to fight against your natural instinct. But then, you know, you get a few years under your belt, you work the program, you know, things just kind of click.
So, do you remember the last time you had a drink? Do you remember the last drink you had?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when was that in relation to you going into rehab?
Literally as I was going to rehab.
Really? What, like on the way type thing?
Well, I got tricked into it, actually.
They kidnapped me.
They really did. No, I mean, at this point, I found my way back to my parents' house, and it was like a last hurrah kind of thing. You know, I'm incredibly grateful to my parents for putting up with me for a long time and the stuff that they did. You know, they were buying me alcohol at points because, I mean, I was told by the doctors, you know, if you stop drinking, you could have a seizure and die. I used that.
Yeah.
I don't want to die. You got to buy me alcohol. And then I can remember this time when I'd already had like 2 or 3 bottles by this point, and that's all I was allowed.
Yeah.
And it was like 4:00 in the afternoon. My dad was like, "How do you drink that already?" I was like, "Just do."
Are you proud of me?
Yeah, please. So but like that's the thing. Like I'd walk around the house shaking,
right?
Because I needed it.
Yeah. That's really interesting. The doctor said that you actually shouldn't just suddenly cut it out.
Stop. You should do it under controlled circumstances, depending on how severe it is.
Wow.
But anyway, what was I on before that? Sorry.
You were talking about your last hurrah.
Oh, yeah. So I was... my mum was going to take me to rehab, and she told me that I was going. And she said to me before, it's like, look, we're just going to go in. They might have a space for you, so just take like a suitcase, but they probably won't. And that's what they said. I was like, oh, okay, fine. Stupidly thinking, no, that's fine. So I put some wine in the bag as well.
For the journey back.
Yeah, literally. I prepared myself. But I had like a big old drink the night before, just on the off chance. And funnily enough, because there's never normally anything left, but there was something left. And I remember, I don't know, it was just like half a glass of wine or something like that.
Yeah.
And I can remember picking it up and having a drink. And thinking this could be my last drink.
Oh, really?
And I can remember thinking it.
And was that the last sip you had?
Yeah.
Wow.
A couple of days in to being sober,
yeah,
I went downstairs into the courtyard bit for a cigarette, and the rehab that I was at, it wasn't just alcohol, it was drugs, mental health, all different types. And some of the mental health people were getting out, so they managed to sneak alcohol in.
Oh, wow.
And they went off somewhere, I can't remember, like further into the courtyard, and I found a bottle of gin. And I was only there with this one other lady.
Yeah.
And I picked up this gin bottle, and I looked at it, and at this point, it's the longest sober I'd been in years, only a couple of days.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, held it in my hand, and in that moment, I looked at her, and I just looked back at the bottle, and it was just silent, and it could have been for ages, even though
was she in the same thing as you? Was she an alcoholic?
I don't actually know, actually.
Oh,
I can't really remember. But I remember sharing this moment with her, just looking at her in the eyes, and I couldn't. It's like I had reached a limit on how much alcohol I could drink in my life. I was like, this is it now. This is that moment right here. I could actually make a go of this, or I could just keep going and again and again and again.
I mean, that's sort of amazing, really. Like I was talking before about how these normal aspects of our life we take for granted, but that is a huge thing. You know, you don't have to climb a mountain and save a girl from a dragon. That is a huge thing.
Yeah.
That alcohol, that you were considering death over quitting alcohol, and your second day in rehab, there was alcohol there, ready, prime for you to drink.
Yep.
And you didn't drink it. That is amazing.
Says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think quite funny. There was this little fountain in the courtyard bit as well.
Yeah.
Like, these people were fucking geniuses, I tell you. There's like a little fountain bit, and they just put around the same water again and again and again. It wasn't very big. And geniuses that they were, they poured, because someone had obviously gone to tell someone that they had alcohol. So they poured all the alcohol into this
Oh my God.
fountain.
Well, the people that work there?
No.
Oh, right.
The people who were drinking it.
Oh.
So that they could, like, drink it and be like, there's no alcohol here. Like, it's amazing. Like, it's just going around and around. Hide it in the fountain. Genius.
Well, it is.
Yeah,
it's like you say, you know, you were planning your day around alcohol. That's time management. And coming up with any ingenious way to keep drinking.
Absolutely.
That's problem solving.
Yeah.
So
this is how I got my job. Problem solving. But no, it really was. It was genius. I did think that. But so yeah, the rehab was, turned my life around. They stopped me drinking. That's what I think the rehab was for. They stopped me drinking. AA has kept me sober.
Right. And what's AA?
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay. So we'll go into that in a sec. So what sort of stuff are you doing in a rehab? Obviously, you don't have to go into detail, but like, what are the general things that went you from going, I'm going to finish this last drop of wine that I've had the night before, to coming out of rehab and still having not drunk for... How long were you in there? Is it a week or 2 weeks or...
3
weeks.
3 and a bit,
yeah,
maybe more.
Yeah. So what sort of things were they doing? What were the key things that you think helped you when you were in there?
Mostly keeping you busy so that you didn't have time to think about it. There were constant classes and stuff like that you had to go to, and arts and crafts and yoga. They kept you kind of busy, so you didn't really have time to think about it. And there was a lot of drugs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got really annoyed when they kept on cutting it down. No, this is not enough.
Ramp it up. That's what we do.
I need it. So yeah, no, it was an interesting time in my life.
I can see now why. Yeah, you were saying about the only sort of more stronger political view that you've mentioned so far, apart from the 4-day work week, which clearly
which is genius.
But like you think that people should be treated medically when they're sort of in the throes of addiction or alcoholism. It obviously worked for you.
Absolutely.
And people taking that, giving you the medication that you needed to get off of it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. They had to put a lot of fluids into me as well.
Not the sort of fluids that you like to have inside you, am I right?
Nope.
Maybe gay jokes don't work as well on a podcast. I don't know. Or if you don't know us that well, I don't know.
Yeah.
You can't see a wink that I just did as well. No. I should convert to video.
Yeah,
it's a very different experience.
Maybe we should. Well, maybe you should. Sorry.
I know. I do need to set it up.
Get a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But I had to go through a lot of stuff. Injected me. First thing they did when I got there, they put like a massive fucking needle in my ass.
Really?
Yeah, like straight in.
Wow, not the only thing you like in your ass. Sorry, I'm just going to keep going.
And just filled me with fluid. Know what I mean? Filled me up.
At least get to know me first.
Or not, it's cool. So yeah, no, it was an experience.
So what kept you sober afterwards? Like the first week, because surely from a sort of problem-solving alcoholic mind, it's like, well, I'm out of there now, so go back to it. What do you think?
Funnily enough, the first thing I did when I came out was go to a pub.
Really?
I went to see some friends of mine in I can't remember where it was, somewhere in London.
Right.
What is that name? Chiswick. Sorry, that's where I went.
So you were already in rehab in London, so you went straight from there
to a pub. Yeah.
Really? Did your parents know about that?
No.
Really?
No.
Were you when you were going to the pub? Because that seems like a risky.
The thing was, it did feel quite risky, but they gave me some drugs.
Right.
To deal with the cravings and stuff like that. Oh,
really? Right.
And I was still taking a drug that, if it comes in contact with alcohol, that it will make you very, very sick. I can't remember what it's called now. But,
yeah, right.
So there was that part of it, but
so that gave you a bit of incentive.
I was more dosed to be able to deal with it. But yeah, no, that was the first pub I went to. It wasn't the only pub that I went into when I was first. I went on a walk when I was in rehab with the intention to drink.
Oh, really? Your first sort of escape type thing.
Yeah, I was about a week and a bit in, and they let you go for a walk by yourself if you're in for a week and more. I walked in straight into a pub.
Really? So were you just like, right, this is my chance type thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I walked in, and I didn't have any money.
Is that the only thing that stopped you?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
But I walked in and I said, I just wanted to be around that familiar kind of area. That was a pub, you know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah, I just needed to be somewhere familiar. And I ordered a tap water. I felt so bad for the woman behind because I hated it when people asked for a tap water.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she was like, oh, yeah. She gave it to me. It's like, thank you.
And inside you're like, I would drink if I could.
But that's what I said. I did. I said to her, I was like, sorry, I'm 9 days sober. I shouldn't have a drink.
Ah, really?
Because I felt like I needed to prove to her that I could drink in a way. You know what I mean?
You're one of her type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that was it. That's funny. And actually thinking about it, I haven't thought about that in a while.
It's like I'm not a religious person, but it's like you had these tests along the way, especially the bottle. That was literally like, for a religious person, that could be like God saying this is your first test type thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had another one. I was a few months over by this point, and I was so angry, and I just couldn't deal with the emotions that I was that came across. And I remember walking towards a pub that I saw, and I was literally almost running my hands along like the rails, like trying to hold on, because it's almost like I couldn't control my own body. I didn't want to, but it was just doing it. It's a really weird experience. And I walked in. First thing I said to the lady behind the bar, I was like, look, just don't serve me alcohol.
Oh, really?
I had money. I could have.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, just don't serve me alcohol. She was like, okay.
Really?
And I just kind of stood there for a minute. And we just kind of stood in silence. And she was just kind of looking at me. I was like, can I have a Pepsi, please? But the thing was, in that silence, it wasn't silent for me because in my own head, I was having a fight with my own self.
Yeah.
And it took a long time for that voice to get quieter and quieter. Because as soon as you get sober, your emotions are still going up and down, up and down, up and down constantly. Because that's how it was. And it takes a while for you to, kind of level out, if you know what I mean? Kind of like a sound wave kind of thing. I'm realizing I'm using my hand to do this to you. At home, you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So the emotions were high, so it took a while for that to calm down.
Do you think you would just suddenly? I remember at the time you were like, it just came like in, I don't know the terminology used, but like a freight train. It was just like all these emotions that you'd numbed with alcohol. Suddenly you were experiencing them to the full. Do you think that was part of it as well? That
Absolutely.
It wasn't that necessarily these emotions were new. It was like now they had no filter type thing.
Absolutely. They were not dumbed down in any way. I felt the full force of them. And I never learnt how to deal with them. Never. So I think over the past few years, I think I've talked about it with you, my anxiety and stuff like that. It kind of hit the roof in my sobriety, and it was very challenging actually because I'd never learned how to deal with them. I think at the beginning of my sobriety as well, I went to the gym a lot, so I was very, very fit. I was going like 5-6 times a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was going.
Oh,
I was
right.
on it.
Yeah.
Because I was still in that night owl kind of mode.
Right.
So I used to go to a gym late and then stay up till really late, and you know what I mean?
Why the gym?
I wanted to be healthier. And I think in a way I kind of, there was emotions attached to that, like I'll show you kind of thing. Because I was continually beating myself up that I wasn't good enough. And I wanted to prove that I was good enough. So I went to the gym and just focused a lot of my energy there after I started working. So I was very fit and healthy, and then I started working as a landscaper as well, and that was a very physical job.
Well, that was a while after.
So that was about a year into my sobriety.
So your first job, you were working as a delivery driver before that, weren't you?
Yes. So that was my first job after I got sober. I was working as a delivery driver.
So how long was that after?
I was about 6 months sober, I think.
Yeah.
When I started working again. And I'd finish at like 10 o'clock at night, go to the gym for a few hours, go back home and stay out playing Age of Empires until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then get up at 11 and go to work for 12 and then do the same thing again and again. So I was still part of that, the night owl kind of the mode, because that was familiar to me.
So
I still don't like getting up early. I absolutely hate it still. It feels very unnatural to me.
So those 6 months before you got a job, what were they like? What was keeping you sober for those
so I was going
first few months?
To AA meetings, and I was going constantly. Was
that pretty much straight away out of rehab?
Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going again, like to meeting every day.
So how does that work? I mean, with rehab, did they like look for it and sign you up, or I mean, how does it work if you want to just go?
No. Rehab, they will stop you drinking. What you do after that, they can obviously point you in the right directions, and some of the courses, well, not courses, sorry, some of the
meetings?
No, just kind of like things that we had to go to in the rehab, like group kind of therapy type things. Some of them were focused towards some of the step work in AA, but they weren't AA steps. So when I came back out, I had to do it again when I started going through the steps.
So what was, describe that process of going into AA, like from
first meeting I went to, I walked in and it was a bunch of old women.
Right. Did you just find this online?
Would you just find I just found it online.
Yeah.
Local. And I went into it and it was a bunch of old women. I was like, I'm not going to fit in here. And there was someone else who was a newcomer as well. And I can remember her crying and sharing and being very emotional, and I was okay at that point as well to share. I was very nervous, obviously, but I did. I still had that facade that I was still that amazing, I can confident, I can do this, I can do that kind of guy.
So you shared on your first...
Yeah.
And so you don't have to share, do you? Or
no, you don't have to.
Right.
But yeah, I did. But basically where I was going with that was every AA meeting that I went to, I got more and more identification with what other people were saying.
Right.
With the way I was drinking. That's where I felt like I belonged.
So for people that don't know, because I think maybe less people know than sometimes we may think, but what is AA? What does it consist of? Just the general thing, like what is the point of going to AA?
Sure. I mean, I can't go into it too much, obviously, but I mean, most people know that there's an Alcoholics Anonymous out there. It's quite well known. There's other addiction groups out there as well. So there's Cocaine's Anonymous, heroin, blah blah blah.
Wow, very specific.
There's hundreds of very specific things, but they all follow the same kind of step program.
Right.
So there's 12 steps to an AA program, and you go through it like that. I think if anyone wants to find out more about it, you can just go to alcoholicsanonymous.com and you can read more about it there.
Cool. I was going to ask you what step you identified with. Do you want to go with that, or would you rather not?
What do you mean identified with?
Not identified with, sorry. What step do you feel maybe had the most impact on you? Or, sort of you felt, had a big positive impact?
Think each step is important in its own way, but the foundations are the most important, I think, in my mind. Step 1, we are powerless over alcohol and our lives had become unmanageable.
Right.
To really get to that point and fully admit and have absolutely no problem. That was a big step for me. And to not... I mean, I won't go into it too much. But that was a very important one for me.
Okay, and that ties in with what you said at the very beginning.
Sure.
Enough is it? Never.
Enough is never enough.
Yeah, and it's that. Okay. So you'd gone into AA, and that was a big part of your sobriety, and still is. Did your lifestyle change drastically, or did you try? I mean, you've mentioned.
Well, I mean, I went to the gym.
Yeah. The game. Were there? Because you mentioned staying up late, and almost there's a feeling, well, just the instinct from me thinking that maybe you tried to hold on as much as you could because you'd already not lost so much, but in your head you'd lost a big part of your life. Were there other things that you held on to, or was it a huge lifestyle change? Like, I know you went out quite a lot, which seems like, at the time I was like, how are you managing to do this? Like,
sure. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I think, I tried to not, in my own mind, let it affect me that just because I wasn't drinking, it was going to stop me doing things. So yeah, for example, I did go out quite a few times, stayed up till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, just drinking Red Bulls all night. In hindsight, probably not a good idea, but it for me at the beginning, it was very trying to hold on to that youth, I guess.
And to be fair,
I missed out on.
Yeah, and to be fair, you managed to stay sober, which surely, I mean, is the most important thing. You know, obviously drinking Red Bulls and staying up like regularly isn't great, but surely the most important thing was just that you weren't drinking.
Yeah, it was difficult sometimes because obviously it's a year of first, you're learning to do everything all over again, and I didn't know how to talk to women.
Really?
And that was fun.
Did you feel like almost like a teenage, like young teenager?
I still can.
Like, yeah. My partner is just just silent all the time.
That's why we get on so well. I touched him right there.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, you felt like a lot of stuff. You were like really new to it, like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was literally learning to live again. Not again, because I never did. You know what I mean? Never me.
Yeah. And that's what I felt when you came out, is like, the way I described it is you were still you, but more you. Like, it wasn't like you changed into this completely different person. You're like a hippie or a super gym person, or like someone like very different from what I knew. You were just more you. Yeah. A fuller version, a richer version of you. Not in the monetary sense. But yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. And that was amazing to see. Because obviously we were still young. We hadn't been, it's generally something that happens to people when they're older, maybe. When people picture an alcoholic, they picture an older person in the 50s or whatever. But yeah, that was amazing to see that this was the real Jamie type thing. But I could still identify with you. I could still recognise you as the Jamie I knew type thing.
Yeah. I can imagine it would be weird for you to watch it happen as well. Because obviously I'm me. I don't see it happening. But I suppose other people would. So I suppose that would have been quite weird for you.
Yeah, it was. Again, at the start, I think, like I said about you weren't drinking, that was the most important thing. That was something that I just kept at the front of my mind for like a few years. It was like, because you had aspects of your lifestyle that were very unhealthy, but it didn't matter because it's like you're going through something that is so intense that you've just got to keep that up. And it was this pride of like, I remember when you called me and told me, and you said, like, I don't know the exact words you used before you went into rehab, before like, you sort of went on that journey, but you said like, have a drinking problem. And it wasn't like other times before where, just been like, I should cut down. And I'd heard from you all the time, like, yeah, I'm going to try, for a week, I'm not going to drink. And I just got tired of hearing it because I just knew that you wouldn't. Yeah. And I'd not really clocked, it can easily be thought that like everyone knows before someone declares to have a drinking problem, but I almost didn't want to label something and then it become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you call someone something and then they believe it, then they might just act like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when you were coming to me and you were saying this, I was like, well, that's amazing. It was like the sort of pride I imagine when a friend comes out the closet, or it's just like, wow, you are really being truly honest with yourself. And yeah, it was amazing, really. So yeah. And then sort of just life sort of started to come in gradually, and were you finding that the cravings were like constant, or were you just finding, were there certain triggers, were there certain things even now, like do you still get cravings now?
On the odd occasion, yeah, but for me, I'm content with it. You know what I mean? I'm more. Before I would have been like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this and blah blah blah. Now I'm like, the thought will cross my mind. It will, of course it will. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I think, yeah, you're right. At the beginning, it was a lot more frequent, and as I've said before, my emotions were going up and down. So it would be difficult to not give in to those cravings. But in those times, that's why AA was so good, because I could actually call someone up, someone who understood what I was going through, and to be able to just talk to them at any fucking time of the day. You know what I mean? There's nowhere else out there, really, that would do that. Because as much as you can talk to someone, like I can talk to you about anything, someone who knows exactly what you're going through and can talk to you about it, there's nothing quite like that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's just a brilliant program. And that's what I'm incredibly grateful for in my life.
And have you noticed any things over the last few years since you've been sober that can cause you to get cravings? Are there any sort of like, obviously like you said, it was worse at the start. Is there certain scenarios or certain things or certain emotions that you know, over the years you've realised actually I got pretty close there because of that?
So I think it's sometimes when I get it sprung on me. So tonight I'm going into London because I have to go to a party kind of thing. I've known for a week and a bit that there's going to be a party, and I know that there's going to be a lot of drinking there. So I've prepared myself for it.
Yeah, right.
If it's a spur of the moment kind of, yeah, let's get absolutely smashed, blah, 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 and I'm there, and all I'm thinking about is, I just want to go home, that's when it can really creep in. It's gotten easier with time, but yeah, that was a pain.
Right, so it's that you like to know what's happening, and you're fine with alcohol being splashed around, as long as you have an idea before, of just a general idea of what it's going to be like, type thing.
Sure. I mean, always at these parties and stuff like that, there's always going to be spillages and stuff like that, or like you get a bit of alcohol sprayed on your shirt and then you smell like it, or you smell it on someone's breath, or all these things can be triggering. I think over time, again, it gets easier, but yeah, it's definitely very difficult at the beginning. So my advice to anyone out there who's struggling with alcoholism and who is about to stop or something like that, maybe don't go out all the time at the beginning.
Right. So that's something
that's something I would, if I could change it, I would.
Right. What? Because it was just too challenging. You think there was too many?
Yeah, I
things?
think it was. I was trying to hold on to something, like I said. So I shouldn't have. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have done it like that.
So what do you do now? Like if someone pours a pint all over you, like what do you do?
What the fuck are you doing? Fucking hell, mate. Fuck no!
I'll lay him out. I'll lay him
straight out, mate. You know what I mean? He's pissed. I'm sober. He's going to go down like a fucking sack of shit. No, I mean, you just get on with it.
Yeah.
You know? I don't let it bother me anymore. And it does depend on where you're at. If you're getting angry about it, you're more likely to or like if you're in a high emotional state, you're more likely to let it bother you than if you were just more, it's okay, just carry on with it.
Yeah. For people that like have concerns about a loved one, or this is more from the outside now, because I've had many conversations with people over the years, and even people I know in my own life that there's concerns around their own relationship with alcohol, and some people I know will say about people they know that they're just. Would you say there are any sort of warning signs? I know you said never label someone an alcoholic, which is really good advice, but for people who are questioning, like, maybe my partner or my friend or my parent, are there any, what advice or guidance would you give to someone who is concerned about that sort of thing with someone they know?
If you're questioning whether or not you're an alcoholic, go out and try some controlled drinking. So go out, have a few, and then just stop.
Right.
If you can't stop, then you know that there's probably some kind of problem there. If you can,
But that's the different. People that are actually potentially have a drinking problem. I mean, if you know someone, like...
But then, again, that's what I mean.
Because it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's such a sensitive thing, and most people don't think they have any problems. It's the same way everyone thinks they're a great driver. But I know this isn't an area of expertise. So I know, you've got your own story, but just instinctually or your own point of view, like if you know someone that you think, I think they drink a bit too much, I think it affects their life. How do you recognize that? Is there ways of recognizing it in other people? How can you approach that?
There's not really much you can do.
Right.
In my opinion. So you can threaten someone with leaving or taking the kids away or all of this stuff. If they're gonna want to drink, they're gonna drink. That's what, unfortunately, I feel like I come under that class of alcoholic who thinks you need to hit your rock bottom and no one is going to be getting your way. So if you're worried about someone,
I mean, they might not even be an alcoholic. It's just generally if you have concerns about someone that.
If you personally want support, you can go to something called Al-Anon, which is a alcoholic partner group. It's based just after AA, so it's for like the partners, family, friends, that kind of thing, of people who can go and share their experience with it, with living with an alcoholic.
Right.
So you can get help there. I don't know. It's a hard question to answer if you're not in a situation.
Yeah.
Best thing to do would probably get another alcoholic involved, someone who's been clean and sober.
So you hear that, everyone? If you got anyone out there that's got a problem with alcohol, just call Jamie. He'll be right down to fix all your problems.
But we can talk to another alcoholic about this stuff. Whereas, and we can relate. You're more than likely to listen and talk to someone. But you're not going to ever listen and talk to someone unless you've reached that point yourself either.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a proper answer for your question out there on exactly what to do and when and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that.
Fair enough. And, that's what I just want to hear. It's just interesting to hear your point of view. And even, you pointing to the direction of, was it Al-Anon? That's that thing of having a community of people that understand you. And what's really interesting, as you were saying that, was like, you're pointing to community again. You're pointing to belonging. And it's that thing, belonging in some sense was a part of you becoming an alcoholic because you felt belonging in a pub and that environment. But community was what also brought you out of it. Being part of the AA, being part of a community that you can relate to. Is so.
The AA.
Oh, is it AA?
No, it's just AA.
Okay.
Not the AA.
Welcome to the AA. Breakdown service.
Yeah. Much better than the RAC.
Call the AA. You got broken down and you get like an alcoholic turning up.
Let's pray.
What about my tyre? Do you think it's changed how you interact with people since it happened? Do you think it's changed how you approach just your interpersonal relationships? Like, do you think you're more empathetic, or do you think has it changed how you help people? Are you are you quite hard and fast with it, or you quite sort of counselling type thing? Like, is there any area?
Are we talking about just with alcoholics here?
Generally. Do you think there's sort of experience? Obviously, it's changed you in many ways, but do you think there are any areas that you think you've changed your way you interact with people at all?
I think it's going to make me sound a bit worse. I think at the beginning I was going above and beyond to help people, and I think I was suffocating almost, and it didn't work. Whereas now, if you want me to sponsor you, let's say,
right, so sponsoring, what's that?
I'll take you through the steps.
Right, okay. I'm just saying for people that don't know what a sponsor is. They're thinking
I swear we've covered this.
They're
before.
thinking like Pepsi and Chelsea football team. Like
yeah. So if I was to sponsor you for, let's say, or just take you through the steps, you're the one who's got to put the work in. I can show you what to do, but if you don't do it, you're wasting my time here as well. So you're the one who's got to do it, not me. I can show you the way, but you are the one who has to walk through the door. You know what I mean? So if you're going to get someone who's not ready, not committed, you know what I mean, to take that step, then you're wasting your time.
Right, yeah.
So that's why I'm very on the side of you need to get to that place first before you can be helped. Yeah.
So whenever you go into the AA, generally you get you get a sponsor, and that's generally someone who's further down the track and they've had more experience with the steps.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
I'm just to clarify.
But yeah.
So, I mean, that doesn't seem. I know that side of things can sometimes seem cold-hearted. Like what you said, you sound like it's really bad, but I think it's the problem of helping people. I think helping people is probably one of the hardest things you can do. And I think that it's very easy from people's own experiences to think this is the way to help people. But it's so important to have different methods. Like my brother and his partner, both teachers, they both want to obviously help people, children, through teaching. They have completely different methods, and they're together in a relationship. My brother you go into his classroom and he will set out, I think it's like 5 rules, and that is it. Like if you cross him, you're out, and he has no tolerance. But
I can see that
he shows what's the word? He gives them validation when they've done something right, or when he shows them a little glimmer of like, I like you, or you've done well, then they hold on to it. So that's the sort of army approach, I guess. But then his partner is so warm. Everyone loves her. You know, she's and she's a brilliant teacher in her own right, you know, because people listen to her and they like her and everything else. And there's upsides and downsides of both, but they're both helping people. They're both helping children.
I don't know. Your brother sounds like a bit of a dick.
Next week, we'll have Jamie debating Ben on classroom techniques, followed by fisticuffs. That will be a live video.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it is important to have that. And Ashton, when he was talking about exercise, he was saying like he doesn't believe in the whole sort of like listening and you know, what works for you and the sort of counselling approach. He was like, just got to do it. You've got to do it. You've got to have someone who's hard on your back and blah, blah, blah. You like hard on your back, don't you? Sorry, it's just the trilogy there of...
Can I say, I'll have my fluid.
So you think maybe over the years you've got a lot more like hard on, you know, your sponsee or someone, just in general, when someone's trying to do something.
Yeah, I think I gave them a little bit more slack, let's say. And yeah, it didn't work.
Okay. So this has been more effective then?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think taking someone through the steps and just working with someone, helping another alcoholic is the best things that you can do, especially for your own sobriety.
Yeah. And if it works, it works. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you find that if you got someone who you're a sponsor for, that would you tailor it? Like if you felt like your approach would be too hard, do you think you would have tailored it to be a bit more understanding? Or do you think that it's just not worth it and you think that actually you sort of need to be hard on them all?
Each person is different. I think because I'm relatively young as well, I get on better with people who are younger. Older people don't like being told what to do by someone who's younger than them. So that's probably why other things haven't worked. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree. You need to tailor it depending on the type of person that you're helping.
Cool. And I guess the last thing would be, what are your views looking back now on your journey? What are your views on sort of like the lessons you've learned along the way, if any, or do you just think your story and your journey is enough? Are there any key things that you look back on and you think, you know, I would have liked to have known this earlier, type thing? And I know it's a big question, so take as long as you need.
In life?
Yeah, fine. In life, relating to this, whatever you want, really.
Stop comparing yourself to others. Other people are... Everyone's on their own journey. Don't be so hard on yourself. If I'd known that earlier, I could have saved myself a lot of hassle. I think. But then also equally, I had to go there to get to here.
Yeah.
Would I change anything? No.
No,
Maybe. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't change a thing.
Maybe we wouldn't have killed that guy.
Dan. It's between me and my sponsor.
Cool. Well, I'm happy to wrap it up there.
Yep. Me too. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I think...
Do you have anything you want to say?
I want to say I think you're an inspiration, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I genuinely am very proud of you, because I think all these other achievements in quotation marks that are out there that we can see on show get applauded. But I think actually that moment that you described in rehab when you saw that bottle, that in a way is a type of heroism. And I genuinely mean that. And I think, yeah, I'm just really proud of you. And I think that you should be proud of yourself. And I do hope that this podcast, talking to you, I know that I've had people over the years, not over the years, as the podcast hasn't even been out for a year, but since I started this podcast, people have asked me, you know, it would be great to do something with you about this. And yeah, I really hope that, you know, one person can get something from it, because it's
absolutely. Even if it's someone else listening to this and one person, you know, it's helped one person, I've done my job, really.
Yeah. And thank you so much, because a lot of the time in this podcast, some of them have been very personal, and I thank the people that have really opened up about their personal life, but it's rare to be this personal and for something that is so sensitive a subject. So thank you for actually taking the time and going through it.
No worries. Anytime.
Coming back tomorrow will be Jamie.
I mean, we've done a couple of podcasts here. We've done alcohol now and anxiety. What's next?
Yeah. Let's do suicide. That happy subject.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak personally.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I mean, we did a film one. So we did an anxiety one, then we did a film one, and now this. Yeah, I'd be happy for you to just be a regular.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more than happy to.
Do more film stuff and chat about whatever you like.
Sounds good. Maybe we should do a high five, but so that the microphones can pick it up. I'll come over to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, no, yeah, thank you for having me. And we'll see you all next time.
Happy days. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.